people hear me okay? It works, great, okay. I want to say a big thank you for everyone coming out today. Huge thank you to Richard and the other organizers for putting on this event. It's fantastic to see the great turnout. I think there's some fantastic content today with some great speakers throughout, and then also tomorrow, in particular, bringing in families and others. It's awesome to see all the interest in the cloud. Quick question here. How many people are new to Azure, meaning they haven't used Azure before? Okay. How many people here are experts at Azure and have used it for at least 10 years? It's a trick question. Okay. And I guess everyone else, which is the other 95% of people, are somewhere in between. Okay. So in terms of kind of a high level, what is Azure? So Azure is kind of Microsoft's cloud computing platform, and really enables you to move faster, be able to do new types of applications, and really ultimately makes development more exciting and more fulfilling, hopefully if we've done our job in terms of what it delivers. What's cool about Azure is it provides tons and tons of services. Obviously infrastructure, so you can run VMs, you can basically stand up anything you want in the cloud, and then a whole bunch of what we call kind of highly engineered services or platform services that you can leverage as part of your applications to be able to build things even faster. What's cool about Azure is it runs all over the world. So this map here represent what we call Azure regions. And so a region in Azure is basically a location where we have a cluster of typically multiple data centers. And so each of these blue dots represents a region. We have 32 regions that are announced around the world today. Put that in perspective, that's more regions than AWS and Google combined. And we're really excited, last time was in the UK, to announce 2 new regions that we're opening up here in the UK later this year. One here near London and one that's several hundred miles away. We try to, for each country, have, or for each location we put regions into, is have what we call a secondary region that's about 500 miles away for natural disaster reasons. And so that way you can know that you can basically meet any geopolitical need. So you can enter South American market or the EU or the European or the American market or China, et cetera, and always have 2 locations that you can basically run your systems at, so that you can always have failover in the event of a natural disaster, and know that, again, your data never leaves that particular location, and you can meet any compliance or government regulations. What's nice about these little blue dots is not only are they all over the place, and so each one of these blue dots means you can actually deploy code and run your applications. They're not CDNs, they're not edge points. These are literally places where you can take advantage of our servers and storage. What's cool about these dots is they're really big. And so this is an example of what one of our region looks like. And it kind of gives you a sense of the scale and size of it. That sort of little circle in the bottom right is a very large truck. And so it gives you some sense in terms of how big these things are. This is the same region from a different angle. It shows you the expansion that's currently underway. And give you sort of a sense, this particular region will be about 2 miles wide, or 2 miles long, once it's fully built out, and hosts about 700,000 servers. And this is just one of the 32 we have around the world. And so this kind of gives you a sense of when you think about the apps that you want to build, you think about kind of the companies you maybe eventually want to develop, having this capacity at your fingertips with all the features that we'll show today really enables you to tackle and solve any type of problem. In terms of why is Azure unique, we really try to do a couple things, and hopefully you'll see it throughout today's talks represented. And I kind of use these kind of 3 different circles, and I'll just briefly cover them. One of the things that we're trying to do with Azure is really give you maximum choice and flexibility in terms of the tools, the technologies, and the frameworks that you leverage and take advantage of. This slide here just is a small scattering of some of the different technologies that you can use with Azure today. You can see you can use pretty much every operating system out there, not just one Linux. I think we've got like 12 Linux distros, whether it's Red Hat, whether it's Ubuntu, whether it's new systems like CoreOS and others that you can leverage. Pretty much every database and data technology out there, every language, pretty much every app framework. And this gives you the benefit as a developer in that you can always use the best tool for the job, and you can always leverage both the commercial as well as the open source ecosystem on any project. So supporting lots of different technologies is important. The other thing that makes Azure, I think, even more unique versus other cloud providers out there is the fact that it gives you the choice and flexibility to build applications that can run in our hyperscale data centers, like the pictures that I showed of one of our facilities. But it also gives you the flexibility of being able to deploy those same applications on premises as well, or inside a service provider environment. And we have this thing we call Azure Stack that gives you that consistent programming model, the consistent management experience. So it's the same management portal, the same management APIs, same command line experience, same core data and application APIs. And again, you can run your applications in anywhere. And we find, especially for large enterprises or people that are in public sector that have unique requirements in terms of compliance that they need to meet, having this flexibility to build a system and run it in both places is a big differentiator. We're seeing increasingly, for example, lots of banks starting to adopt Azure around the world, including some of the first globally systemic financial institutions, which have a unique set of compliance requirements. And many of them are now deploying into public cloud Azure, but they're very wary of, hey, if the regulator changes their mind in 3 years, and I built all my systems to only run inside your data centers, I'm in real trouble. And so having this optionality where they can always bring applications back on-prem if they need to is a big difference for them. There's other organizations that aren't ready yet to deploy in public cloud, but know that they want to build on a modern application stack and be able to modernize their applications. Being able to do that with Azure Stack now, and then at a later point, be able to migrate those systems into a public cloud environment, again, gives them a unique flexibility and optionality that no other cloud provider delivers. We try really hard with Azure to deliver what we call an enterprise-ready experience. That means there's a set of software and technology that we need to build to make sure that everything we do can be easily integrated into an enterprise or corporate environment. But it also means that a unique set of compliance, security, and regulatory things that we also meet as well. We now have with Azure more regulatory requirements and certifications than any other cloud out there. You can see some that are somewhere on here. Gov.uk is an example of one that's unique here in the UK, but lots of others around the world. And this basically means, again, whether you're an enterprise building an application or you're a software developer that wants to target an enterprise that needs a certain compliance, Azure gives you that flexibility to do so. These are just some of the companies in terms of some of the, I think, the largest 500 companies in the world. We have about 85% of them now running on top of our cloud. This gives you a sense of just sort of some of those enterprises that are betting their businesses using Azure today.